Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Somers Sports Broadcast. I am Benny and I'm here with
Brandon, Phillip,
and today we're going to get started recapping Somers varsity boys basketball, and we'll be recapping the most recent game on January 22nd where Somers took on Byram Hill, and right out of the gate it was Byram Hill led by their huge team, and they dominated the start where they pulled away to an 18-2 lead and a 22-7 lead at the end of the first quarter. However, in the second quarter, Somers played Byram Hill tough, making it a 23-36 game at halftime. But the second half, Byram Hill pulled ahead once again, led by their big team, who went on to win 69-50, and they go on to become 12-1 on the season, while Somers, it's another loss. And just Byram Hill, you saw it way out of the gate if you watched our broadcast of that game. It was just a much bigger team, which made it hard for Somers to beat. And then the girls varsity basketball, they've had an exciting season. They currently sit at 6-7 on the year. Now on to Somers' bowling team. So the bowling season is over, ended last night, and few games to recap. On January 16th, Somers lost to Yorktown, who is the number one seed in the playoffs for the bowling league, and they swept us in all three games. Somers was able to beat Austining, winning all three games on January 22nd, but they all came down to the wire. Very evenly matched teams, but Somers was just better that day, and all games were really close. And then the next day, on January 23rd, it was the start of the playoffs. We just happened to play Austining again. This is the 7th place game. Somers was 7th seed. Austining was the 8th, and the winner came in 7th place. And Austining started off strong after being swept the day before by Somers winning their first game. But Somers battled back, winning the next two games, and comes in 7th in the bowling league. And our final record is 33 points and 44 points lost.
And Somers Winter Track had their league championships recently. Boys and girls are 2025 Winter League champions of League 2C. The boys team won by 27 points, and the girls team won by about 40 to 50 points, I believe. Now on to our NFL Division Round recaps. Benny, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, so the first game, it was the Texans who, coming off a win against the Chargers, they took on the Chiefs. The Chiefs, coming off rest since Christmas Day, basically, as Week 18 they sat everyone. And in the beginning, the Texans were able to keep it close, but after the jinxed, if you watched my live stream with my friend Lorenzo, the jinxed extra point miss to tie the game at 13, it was all Chiefs from there, and led by Mahomes and Kelsey, the Chiefs slowly pulled away, winning 23-14.
Now on to NFC side, the Commanders beat the Lions. Everyone was expecting the Lions to win. They won that last game in the regular season to go 15-2, beating the Vikings. All that rest just to lose to the Commanders. The Commanders led by rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels now on to the NFC Championship. And next, the Eagles have beaten the Rams 28-22, an amazing game by Saquon Barkley. Matthew Stafford did pretty good. It was a pretty great game all around. Eagles defense held the Rams to 22 points, and the Eagles now move on to the NFC Championship where they take on their division rivals, the Washington Commanders. And finally, on back to the AFC side, the Bills beat the Ravens 27-25. It was a great game. Mark Andrews was really not the best player on that team, and so was Lamar Jackson. Wasn't really a great performance by them. Lamar had a fumble recovered by Von Miller, and Josh Allen overall didn't pass too much, but their run game was amazing. They only held at Derrick Henry to under 100 yards, which was really, really great. And the Bills move on to the AFC Championship again to take on the 1-seed Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. And now we're on to our college football national championship recap. So Ohio State beat Notre Dame 34-23. Ohio State came out ready. They beat them. It was a great game. It was a great game by the quarterbacks. Great job by the Ohio State defense, only holding Notre Dame to that amount of points. Really great performance overall, but now Ohio State is on to their next championship, and I can't wait to see how they do next year.
Yeah, and now let's get into some NFL coaching news. So there's been a lot of coach hirings these last few weeks as the NFL season came to the end a few weeks ago. And first one, let's get to the most recent one. Just yesterday, the Jets hire Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their new head coach. An interesting move. I thought they'd go with someone else, but interesting move as personally, I think I'd compare him similar to Robert Saleh, so I don't know why they got rid of Saleh. But in other news, the Bears hire Lions offensive coordinator as their head coach, Ben Johnson, and just a big blow for the Lions, losing 2 key coaches. So now on to the Patriots. The Patriots hire former player and Titans head coach Mike Vrabel, and then the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy agreed to part ways, which I think personally was an interesting move. And I want to know from you guys, who do you think will be the Cowboys' new head coach?
Oh, I'm glad he's gone, but I think it'll be Kellen Moore. He's serving as the Eagles' offensive coordinator, but he does have a history with the Cowboys, working as the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator in the past.
I think it's going to be Deion Sanders. I'm not too good on the Cowboys. I think it could be him or Pete Carroll, but I believe Pete Carroll could be looking to be the Raiders' new head coach. But I'm going to go Deion Sanders. He's a pretty good overall coach.
Yeah, and I think Deion Sanders, and because I just think he's a former player of the Cowboys, he's close with Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones likes to make moves that cause a lot of attention, and this definitely would be one. I could just see him doing it because of that, and I also don't think there's any of the candidates available that are as good as Mike McCarthy was for the Cowboys. Maybe Pete Carroll, but I see them going with Sanders here. Next up, we have the AFC and NFC championship predictions, and we have 2 very exciting games this weekend. First off, we have the Eagles and the Commanders, and as much as I would love to see the Commanders win this game, I just think the Eagles are too good. Commanders did beat them a few weeks ago towards the end of the season, but I think Eagles are going to come into this game to play. They've been playing pretty good throughout the playoffs, and I think they're going to win this one 27-16.
All right, I think we're going to have a bit of an upset here. I think the Commanders are going to win 35-31 in a close game. I think they're going to keep themselves alive, especially since they have great momentum after beating the number 1 seed, the Lions.
The Eagles, to be honest, they're probably going to win, but I love going for the underdog. I'm going to go with the Commanders to upset the line. The Commanders' defensive coordinator was just talking about if Jalen Hurts starts to run, they're going to treat him like their running back. They're going to hit him. They're going to go for these big plays, and I just feel like maybe the Commanders can pull something off. They could hold Saquon and Jalen Hurts. They could hold them to limited rushing yards. I think the Commanders could win this one.
And now our next game is, and this is going to be a good one, a rematch of 2 teams that have matched up against each other the last few years on and off, and we have the Chiefs and the Bills. And I think this game, it's going to be, they took on each other in the regular season. The Bills won 30-21, but the Chiefs are always the better team in the playoffs. As much as I would like to see the Bills win this game, I think it's going to be a game that comes right down to the end in Chiefs fashion. I think the Chiefs, they have been playing pretty good football as of late, and I think they're going to get it done, winning 26-21.
I have the Bills winning this game. I think it's time for the Bills. 28-24, another close game. Just barely holding on to get that win.
I do think it's going to be the Bills. Josh Allen is 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, but they usually win in the regular season. But I'm going to go with the Bills on this one. I think they're finally going to overcome him, and I think the Bills are just going to be in the Super Bowl this year.
And now, based on our predictions, let's predict the Super Bowl. And I got Chiefs-Eagles, but I think it's not going to be as exciting as last time. I see the Chiefs taking this one 28-20.
I've got the Bills Commanders based off my prediction, and I think it's going to be 38-28 final score. Bills taking the Super Bowl.
I also have the Bills and the Commanders in the playoffs. I have the Bills winning this. I think DeMar Hamlin's really stepping up as a player. He wasn't really doing too good, but now he's actually stepping up, and I think it's going to be a very offensive game. But I think that Bills defense, Matt Milano, Tyler Rapp, and DeMar Hamlin. I really think this defense can hold together and stop the Commanders from winning the Super Bowl.
So today we are here with Coach Tetro of the varsity bowling for Somers. Thank you for coming today.
No problem.
First question is, what is your background in the sport of bowling before becoming a coach?
I started bowling when I was with my best friend who lived next door to me. I started bowling when I was like 10. I bowled for like 6-7 years. Helped me to love the sport. And then I stopped, went through, then I played football, basketball, but I got into other sports. And right after I graduated college, a friend of mine from high school called and asked if I wanted to join the men's league. And I said sure, and that wasn't good because I forgot everything. And then I trained myself, and I got better and better, and I bowled with them for like 10 years. And then ailments from playing football in college, I couldn't do it anymore on my back. And I had to stop. And that's my background, basically. And now I'm coaching.
Okay. And what inspired you to become a bowling coach?
I guess I always wanted to be a coach. I really wanted to be a football coach, but I just don't have the time now. With the boys growing up in college, and then I do other things in school as I teach at Primrose. And then I saw advertisement for a bowling coach, and I was like, well, yeah, it's something I want to do. And it's a way to actually work with high school kids, which I never had before. And I always wanted to work with the high school kids because they usually have the best sense of humor, they get the jokes, and we just have fun. So I guess what inspired me is my love of bowling. I knew I could coach it, and I knew I could have fun with the kids.
Very cool. And what about coaching do you enjoy the most?
I guess what I enjoy the most about coaching is just the competition, being in a team together with them, having people call you coach, look up to you, joking around, having fun, and also seeing the kids grow and get better, their averages go up, celebrating together and helping one another.
When did you start coaching at Somers?
Well, I started coaching bowling when it first started 3 years ago, and that's it. That was it. I never coached before. I always wanted to. I didn't even do little leagues with the kids and stuff because I wanted them to have their own times and stuff. So it was 3 years ago. This is the third year that the bowling team has been developed and started, and so it's only been 3 years.
And how would you describe your coaching style?
It's a good question. I guess my coaching style is laid back when it comes to just letting the kids learn on their own a lot of times, but then stepping in when I see they're getting frustrated and upset. I like to use humor. I like to tease them, but in a fun way. So I always poke fun, and then we talk, and I show them ways to do, how to straighten the arm, what arrows to look at. So I guess my coaching style would be humor and laid back, I would feel.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, right.
And for example, so when I joined the team this past year, how did you figure out what was the best way for me to bowl?
I gotta watch you. I usually let new bowlers bowl a game or two, watch what they do, watch their steps, watch their approach, what they're aiming at, what they're doing, because most new bowlers are so raw, they're just throwing the ball and not thinking, and trying to throw as fast as they can. They're not following through. That's why I like to send videos at first, because it's hard at first when you're at the lanes and you're throwing the ball, it's hard to correct a lot of things. That's why they have to practice at home, which is a challenge because children don't like to do that. That's what I do is I watch them. I try to give as much tips as I can without giving them too much because it's overloaded and they got too much in their head. So little by little I try to change. That's why starting when they're freshmen is the best, because then now that like Giuseppe, for instance, he's a junior, he's been with us the whole time, and look what he's bowled last night. He bowled 180, 170, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they get better as they go. It's not an easy sport. Everyone thinks it's easy, but it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to practice, and a lot of people don't have the time and money, and to get to the lanes is not easy either.
Yeah. What strategies do you use to keep bowlers motivated and encouraged during practice sessions and games?
I guess the strategies I use is hands off in a lot of ways. I let them try. I watch. They don't know I'm watching, but I'm watching. I'm counting their steps. I'm watching what they're doing. I constantly. Then I'll just intervene. I'll grab them. I'll pull them over. So I think sometimes it could be embarrassing when you're bowling gutters and you're not hitting things and the other team's doing well. So I try to use humor. And I think humor is the best way because I know I played sports all my life. And if you got a coach yelling at you, it's not really, you get embarrassed. So I use humor, quiet talking, calling them over, and just reviewing what they should do. Because bowling is really repetition, Benny. That's all it is. You got to repeat. I'd like you throw the second arrow, follow through, throw the second, and watch your steps. And you did it yesterday. You did better.
Yeah.
Right. The second game was great.
Yeah. And how do you provide constructive feedback to the bowlers in a positive way and encouraging?
Sometimes it's hard, Benny.
Yeah.
But I try. Again, if you think about it, what do? I tease you, Benny. You're killing me. You know what I mean? But I try to do that in a way. So constructive feedback. In a way, I guess I just talk to them like human beings. I don't try to talk down to them. I try to talk to them not as a friend, but as a coach would talk to anyone. So I just have conversations. I guess that's the way I try to use it. As for feedback, I try to do it in a positive way, and positive reinforcement when you do well. You see me, I clap, and I try to pay attention. I think that's the key: is paying attention and watching, and it's knowing that the bowlers know that you're there.
And do you coach or help coach any other sports?
Good question. As of now, no. Well, actually, yes. Special Olympics. On Wednesdays, I do in this fall and spring. I do that, but that's it. I haven't touched anything else. My goal is eventually to do football, maybe in retirement, because I played all throughout my life and in college.
Yeah. Just curious, what type of coach would you want to be in football?
It's a good question. I think I start with the offense. Offensive coordinator, call plays, wide receiver to cornerback coach. That's what I played,
And finally, what is your most proudest moment as a coach?
Watching kids bowl their best games. Watching them, I guess, being proud is, just, I guess, them giving 100% and enjoying themselves. We have fun. I mean, I don't push the winning as much, If we do, we do. Like last night, we won every game. It was fun, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't make the whole night special. It was just, we always have fun.
Yeah.
So I guess the proudest moment is just watching them, like Giuseppe bowled his best series last night. That makes me proud. Watching them get better every year, watching their high scores go up, their series go up. That makes me proud. Sometimes, and also when you give advice and they do it and they bowl a strike right away. That's fun, You feel like you have a little part of that.
Yes, most definitely.
Right, Benny?
Well, yep. Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Benny, you man. I'm going to miss you next year.
So next up, as the NFL Honors is coming up, we're going to predict and also share who we think deserves each NFL award. And then in addition to the basic ones, we also made up a few of our own. So let's get started with Coach of the Year, Brandon.
I bet Dan Quinn. Pretty obvious choice.
I also have Dan Quinn. He took a team from the second overall pick to the NFC Championship game with a great rookie quarterback, possibly the greatest rookie quarterback season of all time. And if they win this game, which they might, Jaden Daniels could be one of the first quarterbacks ever to start in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. Exactly what he said. Dan Quinn, it's been really impressive how they've performed in the regular season, the playoffs, and I think it's a no-brainer, Dan Quinn. So now, on to Offensive Player of the Year. What you got?
An amazing performance this year from Saquon Barkley. So I think that he definitely deserves that award the most.
I'm not too sure. I think it'd be Saquon or Jamar Chase. Honestly, I was going to go with Saquon, but now I'm thinking about it. I really want to go with Jamar Chase. I mean, the team basically had barely any defense, letting up so many points, almost letting the Titans beat them. But I think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are just a great duo, but I think Jamar Chase is going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
And I think Saquon really showed his full form this year on the Eagles, a good team, and was a big reason why they wound up having 14 wins. I just think it's a no-brainer, Saquon for Offensive Player of the Year. And now for Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't have the common pick here. I have Zach Bond of the Eagles.
I have Pat Surtain. If you look at a quarterback's QBR when playing against the Broncos, Pat Surtain, he let up basically nothing. He's a really great defensive piece to that Broncos defense. Look at the QBR, the quarterbacks would have been better throwing it straight to the ground instead of throwing him. That's how good he was.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Pat Surtain, just very impressive season. Big key of the Broncos throughout this year, and I think based on this competition, it's gotta be Pat Surtain.
And next up, we're going to go into our Rookies of the Year. So we'll start off with offense. Philip, who do you have?
If it's going just off the regular season, obviously I'm going to go Jaden Daniels. I'd go with him regardless, even though Brock Bowers was a great great tight end for such a poverty team like the Raiders, but it's got to be Jaden Daniels.
And I got, Jaden Daniels. Just what an impressive season by him. There's not really much more to be said. Just very impressive. He's done so much and he's led his team, along with Dan Quinn, from second overall pick to the playoffs. It's just very impressive. Not much more to say.
There's not really nothing else to say here. I have Jaden Daniels as well.
So now on to Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I have Jared Verse. Since Aaron Donald retired, Jared Verse has been filling that gap at that defensive part. He's been doing amazing this year. He's totaling up a lot of sacks, and I think he's going to get Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I have to agree with Philip there. Jared Verse.
Yeah, I gotta say, Jared Verse. He's been helping a lot on this Rams defense, and I think it's gotta be Jared Verse.
Now we're starting with our comeback player of the year. I have Sam Darnold. Took a team that honestly everybody thought wouldn't be that good. All he needed was a couple weapons around him and a good coach, and look what he's done. Took the Vikings to a 14-3 record as Sam Darnold as your quarterback. Obviously it's a bunch of factors. The defense really stepped up too, leading the league in, I believe, in interceptions. But if you just look, Sam Darnold has actually been doing really, really good this year. So on my comeback player of the year, Sam Darnold.
I gotta say, Sam Darnold, just very impressive. His career was basically over. The Vikings decided to sign him as a bridge QB, and he proved that he was the quarterback that he was originally supposed to be, and a very impressive season by him, leading the Vikings to 14 wins. I just think this is a no-brainer. It's got to be Sam Darnold for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, and I've got J.K. Dobbins. He had a major injury. Of course, yes, Sam Darnold, he did have an amazing season, amazing comeback, but I think J.K. Dobbins also had a great season coming back.
And now on to MVP. This is the most important award, obviously. Brandon, what you got?
I've got Josh Allen. I think that's in the last few weeks. That's the big obvious choice. Lamar Jackson's great, amazing, but Josh Allen's just a bit above him.
I also have Josh Allen. I'm a little biased coming from obviously being a Bills fan, but Josh Allen, it was basically the same situation as Lamar last year. Better record, worse stats, but Lamar still won. But this and going to the AFC Championship to face the Chiefs, and now this year it's the exact opposite. Lamar had slightly better stats, but Josh Allen had the better record. But I do believe that Josh Allen's going to win MVP.
Yeah, and I actually got Lamar Jackson. He's just had a record-breaking season, and it's very close. It's like a coin flip of either Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. Never seen it this close, but I just think Lamar Jackson, especially at the end of the season, finished off strong. Those last few games from Josh Allen, I think, helped push it a bit more for Lamar Jackson. That's why I got Lamar Jackson. So now, what do you think was the best play of the year, Brandon?
Well, I think best play was the touchdown pass to Jared Goff against the Seahawks. Yes, Jared Goff caught a touchdown pass.
For me, I have Josh Allen catching a touchdown pass from Amari Cooper. He threw it to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was huddled in it was in that defense, so he just lateraled it back to Josh Allen. They jumped in, diving, barely making the touchdown. He was the first quarterback ever to have a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown in a regular game.
Yeah, and what do you think was the biggest surprise of this year in the NFL?
I think the Commanders beating the Lions in the playoffs had to be the biggest surprise we had.
I also have that, but I also have the Vikings. No one expected the Vikings to go 14-3 with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. Maybe if they had J.J. McCarthy early in the year, I thought they could probably pull out 9 or 10 wins. But going 14-3 with Sam Darnold as your quarterback is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I got kind of both. Just the Vikings and the Commanders. How good they played just surprised me. I think that was the biggest surprise of the year. Both of them, yeah. And then What about for game of the year? What was the best game of the year in the NFL?
My best game of the year this year was going to be Week 15, Buffalo Bills against Detroit Lions. The Bills came up on top, but just barely, 42-48.
For me, I have two games. I have the Bills Lions Week 15. Jared Goff, I think, had almost 500 passing yards, around 5 touchdowns. But with the Bills coming on top, it was really nice. And I also have another Bills game. I have the Bills beating the Ravens in the postseason, in the AFC divisional round. That was an amazing performance by the Bills defense, coming up with a bunch of turnovers. And I just think it was a really good game.
And I got the Bengals and Ravens Week 5. That was an amazing game. Tied at 35. It went into overtime, and the Ravens wound up taking that one. I just think that was just an amazing, exciting shootout overall, and my game of the year. And what do you think the biggest upset of the year was?
Biggest upset of the year was probably the Commanders beating the Lions in the playoffs. I know I said that for the biggest surprise, but I think that would probably win an award for both of those.
Yeah, I think no surprise here. I'm also going to go with what Brandon said. No one expected Jaden Daniels to pull a team from the bottom two with the second overall pick in the draft to all the way to the NFC Championship, beating the 1 seed Lions. The Lions were putting up so many points a game, holding them to 31 points and just pulling off. Going to the NFC Championship round. That's really something.
Yeah, and I got to say, that game, just the biggest upset of the year. Obviously busted my Super Bowl bracket of the Lions taking it, and Commanders, good for the Commanders. And then, so what is the fantasy player of the year?
Oh, I think that has to be Saquon Barkley. He was averaging 30-something points,
something like that,
each game this season. I think that's the obvious choice.
Yeah, I also believe it was Saquon Barkley or Jamar Chase. I mean, in fantasy, normally you'd take people took Jamar around pick maybe 7 or 8, and also same with Saquon. I think they're both interchangeable, but I'm going to go with Saquon.
And I gotta say Saquon. Jamar Chase did do good, but I had him some weeks he did really bad, some weeks he did great. I think that's only competition to Saquon, but I think it's no-brainer. Saquon Barkley, Fantasy Player of the Year. And who do you guys think was the most luckiest team this year?
Well, it had to be the Chiefs. I mean, they always won by 1 score or less.
Yeah. I'm also going to go with the Chiefs, and I'm going to put the Vikings there too, but I think the Chiefs more. They, just like Brandon said, they only had 1 game where they beat a team with with a possession. I think they beat the Browns maybe 20-something to 7, I believe, but they were just among the Patriots and Raiders who only beat teams by 1 score or less. Not really putting up too many points, and I think it was just pure luck going 15-2.
Yeah, exactly what they said. For the same exact reasons, I'm going to say Chiefs. And who do you think is the most unluckiest team this season?
I have the Niners. I was going to put the Bengals, but I feel like the Niners, they have a really, really strong team. But, I mean, when you're bombarded with injuries, your running backs, they're on to the 3rd or 4th string running back. Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerrero, Jordan Mason, they're on to their 4th or 5th string. It's really, really bad for the Niners, but that's who I have then.
I agree with the Niners. That would probably be my second choice. But I'm going to go with the Giants this year.
I got to just say the Bengals. So many close games that they should have won that they lost. Like I've said in past episodes, just the Bengals, I'd say, I think the most unluckiest team I've ever seen in the NFL. And finally, biggest disappointment of the season, I'll just get started off, just the New York Jets for obvious reasons. They had so much expectations and they really disappointed.
Yeah, I also have the Niners. I have the Niners Jets too. I mean, you had a great roster. I know Aaron Rodgers would pushing 40, but I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. You had Mike Williams. You had a stud receiving core. You had a really, really great defense in Quincy Williams and Sauce Gardner, but yet didn't really do too good. So I have the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets. They had a great roster, great players, but I mean, they just can't get good. They just can never pull it all together and be a good team. We'll see if that changes soon. But for my pick, the Miami Dolphins, Tua, yeah, I mean, he likes to hit his head, I guess. You had Tyreek Hill there as well, and Waddle. I mean, that could have been a great team.
Yeah, also piggybacking off what Brandon said, people drafted Tyreek Hill first, first round or two in the playoffs, drafting Jalen Waddle first, maybe round 2 or 3. Only real key pieces there, I think, were the running game, Devon Achane going off insane that year. I think finished top 10 in fantasy PPR.
All right, so finally, before we go, I want to know, as the IndyCar season approaches, who do you see taking it all in this IndyCar season, winning?
I got Alex Palou.
I also have Alex Palou. I'm not too, informed on that, but I've watched some tape. I think he's really good.
I also gotta say Alex Palou, just because he's won the last 2 championships, and he's just a phenomenal driver, and more so, Chip Ganassi's team is downsizing from a 5-car team to a 3-car team, and his teammates, one of them, forget the guy's name, they're just keeping him because he has a lot of money, and the other one is Scott Dixon, who's getting older and is just going to probably regress. So I think they're going to be all in on Palou, and I think he's going to have his best season yet this year. We are the Soma Sports Broadcasting Club.
We'll see you next week.
Oh, Santor steals it, goes up for the 2, and it goes in! The Tuskers are going to make the game 15, stored by Kemming to Santor, it goes in! What an end to the first half! The Tuskers, led by Kemming and Santor, add 4 points to the scoreboard. What an ending to the first half! And stay tuned for our halftime show. What an ending. The Tuskers. It's never over till the game clock says 0. They are still trying. They made it a 13-point game as we head into halftime.